Hello everyone and welcome to Outriders New Horizon. In today's video I'm going to share with you a Pyromancer anomaly power build focusing on the fan favorite Reforged set and using Volcanic Rounds on top of that. I have come up with two variations of the build. One is my favorite, although it's not the most powerful, but I do prefer it and like it because it's more relaxed and has better survivability, and the other provides a little better boost in the DPS. So before we start, in case you enjoy the content of the channel and you don't want to miss any upcoming videos are released throughout the week, feel free to subscribe. So without any further delay, let's just jump right into it. Let's begin with our skills. Everything will be the same for both builds for the skills, the talents, except for some mods we're going to change. Feed the Flames, Thermal Bomb, they are a must-use skill in order to get the full benefit of the Reforged set, and we're going to focus also on the Volcanic Rounds to apply burn on the enemies for the first build, and on the second build to provide a better anomaly power boost. You probably have guessed what's the difference in the build, so let's have a closer look at the armor and mods. The head, the chest and the legs of the Reforged are always a must. They are all 3 out of 3 have anomaly power, cooldown reduction and skill life leech, and I'm using 2 epic pieces with anomaly power, cooldown reduction, status power on one and skill life leech on the second. I do stand in my opinion because on the first build you could switch to the skill life leech to get a little more status power. However, for the second build I do recommend to have the skill life leech in one of your armor pieces, otherwise you won't have as good survivability. We're going with susceptibility for the first build because we're not going to run out of volcanic rounds. Hopefully we have the flame grasper and the bullet absorption, this way you will never run out of bullets from your gun, and all the debuffs for the brandy, the double fan, the big boom. Big boom, I do like it for this build because one of our highest damaging abilities is going to be the thermal bomb. And the second ones, or the tide, will be the weapon mods. Bullet Kindling, Fire Frenzy, Captain Hunter and Damage Absorber in my opinion is a must, otherwise we're going to be very squishy without so much survivability. Now moving on to the weapons. For this variation I do recommend to go with the Damascus Offering because it has high ammo count, Claymore Torrent, and for the secondary mod I do recommend a couple of options. Ultimate Stone Whip is my favorite. A second option you could run can definitely be the Shadow Comment in case you want a little more AoE, or the Fortress is actually a very good option to further increase your DPS for the Thermal Bomb, your survivability, and I do recommend the Fortress especially if you run with a group. For this build the secondary weapon is irrelevant, we're never going to change to the secondary weapon, although I have the Guillotine here or the Animal Shotgun. You're never going to run out of volcanic rounds unless you forget to use the Feed the Flames, and that's why I don't focus in the secondary or the sidearm for this variation. Let's have a look at the talents. I do like this variation. I'm going all the way to the Tempest to get even the Grave Ablaze. With this option I saw a lot of extra damage using Thermal Bomb, and I do stand in my opinion to have the full Tempest tree. I'm going up above for Hot Situation to have a 45% anomaly power boost because I do want Thermal Bomb to hit as hard as possible, and in the process you also get Incinerate, one of the best crowd control abilities where apply burn to all the enemies, and thus you can easily just inflict ash after the burn ends. In case you have problem with the survivability, which usually shouldn't be the case, you could sacrifice Hot Situation and Mark of the Anomaly probably Incinerate as well, but you can sacrifice at least these two to get Phoenix Nestling and Master of the Resistance number 2, although we have 30% resistance thanks to the one Master of the Resistance and Damage Absorber. And in case you do these changes, you will have 50% resistance, and in case you apply the Fortress, you can have even more, so survivability should skyrocket. For the second variation of the build, I only replace Susceptibility with Reload Boost, because we're not going to have eternal Volcanic Rounds, and replace also the Bullet Absorption with Circle of Power to further increase our survivability, because we don't apply as much burn compared to the first build to the enemies, and we might have a little problem with survivability against some bosses or high health enemies. Otherwise, we change nothing apart from this and the primary weapon choice, which is the Thunderbird, or I will give you another option. The Thunderbird, in my opinion, is the best. It has Ultimate Storm Whip, and we apply Claymore Torrent for maximum DPS for single target, and thanks to Reload Boost, these two mods will further increase its damage by 50%, plus by our mods and the debuff from the Thermal Bomb. And of course we're going with the Guillotine or the Anemone Shotgun for secondary weapon to proc these mods for even further damage. That's why this build has better single target DPS compared to the first one, but a little worse survivability when facing hordes of enemies solo. For the talents, I changed nothing to the second build. I do recommend to go like this. You don't necessarily need to go for the Master of the Resistance. The only thing you can sacrifice Hot Situation and Mark of the Anomaly. In case you find yourself dying, get the Phoenix Nestling and get the with Fire and Anomaly. You will lose around 33 Anomaly Power Boost, which is a little high. But still Thermal Bomb will hit like a truck because we have the reload boost and all the other buffs, so you don't have to worry, you don't lose as much damage if you just sacrifice these two mods to get with Fire and Anomaly and Phoenix Nestling. In case you don't like Thunderbird and you want a little more survivability, I do recommend to go with the Damio, the SMG. You have Ultimate Storm Whip, you have Claymore Torrent once again, and you have Skill Leech instead of status power only, because with the one epic piece with having Skill Leech and the Thunderbird will have 80%. In case you don't have this epic piece, let's say I have something that has status power, you will see you will have only 13.5 Skill Life Leech. So it's not as high, but you can replace with the Damio to have that 80%, to have better survivability. And I do like the Damio as well. I'm using it in one of my other builds, focusing on mod damage, and it's quite decent. But it depends honestly what you like. The Damascus offering could work for this build. I personally don't like it because it doesn't have the best RPM compared to the other weapons to proc the mods, and it has much worse reload speed. For the first build, there is no such thing as a standard, let's say, rotation. You just pop up the Volcanic Rounds, keep them up using Feed the Flames, and I do recommend to use always Feed the Flames before you proc Thermal Bomb. This way you will have proc the Hot Situation and get max benefit for the Thermal Bomb. Try to hit as many enemies you can, small enemies, guard them around the heavy enemies, and try to hit Thermal Bomb one heavy enemy, a Brute Mother when I say heavy enemy, a Behemoth or a boss, and proc Thermal Bomb around them for maximum value for the Thermal Bomb. The second build uses a not similar tactic. We have to proc Reload Boost, so Volcanic Rounds are not there to apply burn. We pop up the Volcanic Rounds, we switch to our sidearm, which we don't need to proc, apply Thermal Bomb and Feed the Flames to get maximum value for the Hot Situation and everything, and now your mods should hit like a truck, and especially the secondary weapon mods can probably one-shot most elites. That's why I have created this build, because it's a little better for single target DPS. You kill the enemies faster, you still have decent survivability, and you can do far better timers in the expeditions. But in conclusion, in my opinion, I do love the first build compared to the second. Although the second one is more powerful, the first one is more fun, is more relaxed, because you don't have to do very hard things. You basically have to proc Feed the Flames to get back the bullets, make sure to hit 2 or 3 enemies, and just try to aim the Thermal Bomb to smaller enemies or higher enemies. That's the only thing you have to worry about. The second build, yeah, it's much more powerful, but it depends what you like. And that was it for today's video. Feel free to make any changes that you like to apply to your playstyle. You can, of course, for example, sacrifice the Flame Grasper from the second build, especially because it's not necessary. I just have it so I can apply the ash when I face many elites to stun them to make things a little more easier, and that's why I keep it. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch my video, and thank you a second time in case you stick around until the end. So feel free to stay tuned for more upcoming videos for Outriders New Horizon and other video games. And as always, I wish you all a wonderful day. Your